You know, when I think about public perceptions of homelessness, or even beyond public perception, kind of that feeling you get in the pit of your stomach when you see somebody at an intersection asking for help. There's this part where we see another human being suffering and we think, gosh, we can help. We can give $1, we can give some food, we can do something. But then when you start to see more and more and more people, I think people tend to shut down. You kind of get overwhelmed by what you see and you think there's no way that my pair of socks or my bottle of water or my donation could help, and I'm just gonna kind of harden myself off to it. And that's something that we struggle with even as advocates, you know, this unending need. That stereotype, that guy sitting in the park, you know, looks like he hasn't had access to really much of anything in a while. That's not what homelessness looks like in Alachua County. You are much more likely to come into contact with a homeless person who is working at a gas station, working any kind of retail job, working a day labor job. We're coming into contact with homeless people every single day, but the vast majority of people are really able to do a pretty good job of not transmitting to the entire world that they are currently struggling. Everything we do, I think, overlaps in a lot of ways with what Queen of Peace is trying to accomplish: sheltering the poor, feeding the hungry.
We have 145 sheltered guests here, and to do what we do and to do it effectively, we really need volunteers and service providers to come on campus and really put the marketplace in Grace Marketplace.
When you think about the fact that most people show up into homelessness with no transportation and carrying everything that they own on their back, the idea that we would just have somebody show up in one place only to tell them they have to go someplace else to get something else, that can be a day's work. So we were asking people in crisis to do much too much, and that marketplace model emerged at the request of people without housing so that we could make it as easy as possible to get off the street. With a stewardship goal of, you know, connecting heaven and earth and connecting people in the community, that's the work that happens at Grace. I would say my favorite thing about working with parishioners from Queen of Peace and Father Al and Glenn is the willingness to get involved.
We were working on the food service line, just putting together some food for the guests and just interacting. It was kind of a simple thing, but it just had a big meaning to it.
Well, it's a basic thing you're doing, but you can see that they appreciate it.
And I really am deeply grateful for the people that show up, and the people who come out here and donate their time and their energy. They have other full-time jobs, they have families, and they still find time and energy in their hearts to come out here and share in our passion to end homelessness. So we're deeply grateful for that.
Homelessness is at its core an issue of isolation. So, I mean, when I think of my own upbringing in the Catholic Church, I certainly think back to First Communion or confirmation, but that communion, even that was this moment of connection.
I think the Eucharist is a great way to think about what we're doing for us to receive, basically the body of Christ coming in, giving life. And what we're doing here is feeding people food that's going to sustain their lives.
When you're engaging with them in that way and you look into their eyes and you start to realize this is somebody's mother or father or grandfather or son or daughter. And once you've done that, you can never look back. There's no moment where you can continue to say, this person deserves their suffering. This person is not worth my assistance or my help. The support from Queen of Peace, first of all, is going directly into the hands and mouths of people who are truly in need almost immediately.
I didn't realize that the money that you're giving is going out into the community like that. I really thought it was more just to run the parish.
Yeah, the Queen of Peace giving to places like Grace, I think it's doing a tremendous amount of good.
The phrase is, to try to give of your time, talent, and treasure. So, if you're donating to the parish financially, it's nice to know that you're helping community organizations. I think especially when you're trying to teach your children about the world, I think it's important to also give your time.
Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing anything, so it helps me feel better helping other people and actually thinking that that's what Jesus would want me to do.
There's no us and them when it comes to our guests out here. We've removed the us and them. We all know we're just one or two tragedies or traumas or away from being here with our guests, and so that's why I'm here.
I've been doing this work for a couple of decades, and I can't tell, there was a time when I went to Washington, D.C. for a conference, and I come across a bunch of kids in gator shirts sitting on a bench in Washington, D.C. So I went up to talk to them, and I said, "What are y'all doing here?" They said, "We came here to learn about homelessness." And I was like, "Did you know that you drove right past, on your way to the airport, you drove right past the biggest homeless shelter our community has ever had, and it's an award-winning, nationally recognized homeless shelter?" And they said, "No, we had no idea."
I think the first time that we did it, I didn't really know what to expect. But when you're there, kind of interacting and serving, it makes you feel really good to help.
We are a low barrier shelter, and one of the barriers for people getting into a shelter is often having a pet. And there's a lot of people that would choose to not go to the hospital or not go to a shelter or not get the care they need just so they can be with their pet. And so removing that barrier is one of the many barriers we've removed to be here at Grace. We have a lot of emotional support animals here. In fact, each one of our animals is an emotional support animal here.
When I think of what I would want to say to the Queen of Peace community, the first thing that pops in my mind is, of course, thank you. We really could not be doing this work without your support. And we would love to have any of you who are more interested in seeing what we're doing to come out for a tour, to come out to serve a meal, to see how Queen of Peace's support for Grace is working, what it looks like every day, whether it's a new pair of work boots on somebody who's gotten their first job in a while, or the food in the belly of somebody who hasn't eaten in a while. The work that you all do as a church doesn't just happen in your church. It happens on the Grace campus. It happens with the deliveries of our wish list items and with our blessing bags. It happens with the food that we're able to share and the people that we're able to send home or get into apartments. We can see that success and we can see that progress measured one person at a time.
At church, when they hand out the stewardship information and you can see all the different categories and the different opportunities, I talk to my kids about what maybe we could participate in. It's really important, I think, to be active in the community, and that's going to help bring your faith alive. And if you can go outside the walls of the church and bring your faith to other people and be examples for other people, I think that's what our mission, that's what we should be trying to do.
One of my favorite things about our partnership with Queen of Peace is that we have found ways to work together to make this community better for all of us.
I think you look at the stewardship envelope sometimes, and I've done this in the past, where you're like, I don't have time for that. Or taking that first step, checking a box or making a call, it can be difficult, but for us at least, it's been pretty rewarding.
We have a beautiful parish and so many things to be thankful for, and so many things that we can give, and so many talents that our parishioners have. So let's not keep them all to ourselves.
I would tell our kids to do it. Just do it. Because it makes you more comfortable. If you're more comfortable, you'll want to do it more. And if you do it more, you're going to make a difference. And I want to make a difference.